Ever feel like planting a tree is the go-to solution for like every environmental problem?
Right.
You're not alone. You sent over the Southeast Queensland Ecological Restoration Framework manual, wanting to dig a little deeper.
Okay.
And let me tell you, this manual throws the whole just plant a tree idea right out the window.
Yeah.
Get ready to discover a whole new world of restoration
It
strategies.
is refreshing to see a resource that actually acknowledges the complexity of ecosystem recovery.
Yeah.
This manual, it goes beyond simple solutions and dives into the hows and whys of truly assisting an ecosystem that's been damaged.
And speaking of hows, the manual outlines 4 main approaches to ecological restoration.
Okay.
It even emphasizes how crucial it is to choose the best fit for each, unique ecosystem.
Right.
So are we talking about like levels of ecological intervention?
Precisely. Sometimes nature knows best,
Okay.
and the least intervention is the best course of action.
Right.
This is where natural regeneration comes in, allowing an ecosystem to heal itself, if it has the capacity.
A hands-off approach,
Exactly.
if you will.
Yeah.
But what happens when nature needs a little boost to get back on track?
That's where assisted natural regeneration takes center stage.
Okay.
This approach might involve managing invasive weeds,
Okay.
carefully mimicking natural processes like fire or controlled burns, or even giving native species a bit of a head start.
It's like giving Mother Nature a nudge in the right direction.
Exactly.
But what about ecosystems that have suffered, like, more serious damage?
Right.
Can we always rely on, like, a gentle approach?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
In cases of severe degradation, we might need to roll up our sleeves and opt for reconstruction.
Okay.
This involves more intensive actions, like large-scale planting, reintroducing lost species, or even reshaping the landscape to kickstart that recovery.
Now that sounds like some serious ecological heavy lifting.
It can be, yeah.
But the manual also mentions a fourth approach, fabrication.
Yes.
Creating something entirely new sounds a bit like playing eco-engineer.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Think constructed wetlands for water treatment, or even designing urban green spaces to mimic those natural habitats.
Right.
Fabrication is all about creating ecological value where it previously didn't exist.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
It seems like each approach comes with its own set of tools and techniques.
it does.
But one thing that really jumped out at me from the manual was the emphasis on the often overlooked players in an ecosystem. The cryptic species and fungi.
It's a crucial point.
Yeah.
We often get, caught up in the charismatic megafauna,
Right.
but those smaller, less glamorous species, along with fungi, are the backbone of a healthy ecosystem.
It's like realizing the true heroes were the quiet ones all along.
Exactly, and often they are.
Yeah. The manual also dives into the importance of understanding and mimicking natural disturbances like fire, which many might see as purely destructive.
Right.
And that's where things get really interesting.
Good.
The manual challenges the misconception that all fire is bad.
Okay.
It highlights how certain ecosystems rely on fire as a natural process for regeneration.
And emphasizes the importance of mimicking these disturbances for successful restoration. For example, some plant species have seeds that only germinate after being exposed to fire.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's not as simple as just putting out every fire.
Right.
We need to understand the role fire plays in a particular ecosystem.
Precisely.
Are there other examples of mimicking natural disturbances in the manual?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
The manual, it talks about how controlled grazing or even strategically mimicking the impact of things like flooding
Right.
can be beneficial for certain ecosystems.
Yeah.
It all comes down to understanding the specific needs and like the historical processes of the ecosystem that we're working with,
Right.
if that makes sense.
It's like ecological detective work.
Yeah.
Figuring out the clues.
Exactly.
And restoring balance.
Yep.
Speaking of restoring balance, the manual dedicates a significant portion to weed control,
Yes.
which, let's be honest, sounds about as exciting as watching paint dry.
Right.
But it's clearly a critical aspect of ecological restoration.
Oh, it certainly is.
Yeah.
Weeds can outcompete native species, disrupt those natural processes that we want to see happening,
Right.
and, just really hinder restoration efforts.
So what's like the best approach to tackling these botanical bullies?
Yeah.
The manual seems to delve into the pros and cons of both manual and herbicide control methods.
It does. And it's a topic that often sparks, debate.
Right.
The manual acknowledges these concerns and really highlights the importance of careful consideration, targeted application, and minimizing potential harm.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
No, definitely not.
What factors might influence the decision to use, say, manual versus herbicide control?
Well, several factors come into play.
Yeah,
The types of weeds that are, the size and density of that infestation, the terrain. Are we talking about a steep slope?
right.
The proximity to water sources?
Right.
And even just the availability of resources and
Yeah,
labor.
right.
Do we have enough people to go out there and manually remove these weeds?
Right, right.
All those kinds of considerations.
It sounds like choosing the right weed control method requires a deep understanding of the site-specific challenges.
Absolutely.
The manual does emphasize, like, the expertise needed for a successful ecological restoration.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It paints a picture of a bush regenerator as someone with a really unique and multifaceted skill set.
Yeah.
They need to be able to identify a wide range of plants,
Okay.
understand the dynamics of the ecosystem that they're working in,
Okay.
and be aware of the needs of local fauna.
Right.
All of that kind of combined.
It's not just about yanking out weeds. It's about, understanding the interconnectedness of this ecosystem.
Yes, very much so.
And speaking of, like, real-world applications, the manual includes some fascinating case studies that showcase, different approaches to ecological restoration.
It does. They really bring the concepts to life, yeah.
Yeah.
One that stands out is Case Study 3,
Okay.
which focuses on the restoration efforts in the Narang River.
Okay.
This case highlights the success of a really carefully planned, staged approach to assisted regeneration.
Okay, let's dive into the details.
Okay.
What were the specific challenges faced in the Narang River case?
So the Narang River site, it was heavily invaded by aggressive weeds like cat's claw creeper and lantana, which were choking out the native riparian vegetation.
Riparian vegetation.
Right.
For those of us who might not be familiar with the term.
Riparian vegetation refers to the plant communities that grow along rivers and streams.
Okay.
It's incredibly important for maintaining water quality, preventing erosion, and providing habitat for a variety of wildlife.
So restoring the riparian vegetation along the Narang River was crucial for the health of the entire ecosystem.
Absolutely, yeah.
How did they tackle this challenge?
So instead of attempting to clear everything at once, which can be overwhelming
Right.
and even detrimental, they took a more strategic, phased approach.
So a bit like breaking down a daunting task into more manageable steps.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. They started by prioritizing areas with the highest potential for natural regeneration
Okay.
and focused on controlling the most aggressive weed species first.
This allowed the native species to gradually reclaim their space.
Precisely.
Right. It's fascinating how ecological restoration often involves, like, working with rather than against these natural processes.
Precisely. And the Narang River case study highlights the importance of patience and persistence
Right.
in ecological restoration. These things take time.
Yeah.
You don't just go in and fix it overnight.
Did the results reflect this carefully planned approach?
They did. After 3 years of consistent effort, they had 55 hectares under active management. The native vegetation was recovering, and the density of invasive weeds was decreasing.
That's great.
It demonstrates that even in heavily degraded areas, we can help ecosystems bounce back with that strategic approach.
That's incredibly encouraging. But the Narang River case focuses on assisted regeneration.
Yes.
What about situations where, like, more intensive intervention is needed?
Right.
The manual also features a case study from Daguilar National Park,
Yes.
which showcases a different approach.
Yes. Case Study 4 takes us to Daguilar National Park, where they use mechanical weed control to tackle a dense lantana infestation.
Okay.
This case highlights the importance of choosing the right tools for the job.
Because sometimes you need a bigger hammer, so to speak?
Precisely. In this case, the scale and density of the lantana infestation called for a more heavy-duty approach.
Right.
Mechanical removal allowed them to efficiently tackle large areas, especially those accessible by machinery,
Right.
which, isn't always possible depending on the site.
It's a good reminder that there's no one-size-fits-all solution in ecological restoration.
Absolutely not, no.
Every site presents unique challenges
Yeah.
and opportunities. Speaking of unique challenges, one case study in the manual really caught my eye.
Okay.
It involved, like, relocating an entire heath community.
Right.
It sounds like something out of a science fiction novel.
That would be the Sippy Downs Heath translocation.
Okay.
A remarkable example of the fabrication approach we discussed earlier.
Right.
This project involved moving a 12.2 hectare section of endangered heath habitat to a new location to accommodate development.
Hold on. They literally moved an entire ecosystem.
Essentially, yeah.
Did they, like, dig it up and put it on a truck?
Oh,
Seems incredibly ambitious.
it does sound a bit like something out of a movie, but that's essentially what they did.
Wow.
They carefully extracted sections of soil, complete with the existing plants, seeds, and even the vital soil microbes, and transported them to a prepared site at the University of the Sunshine Coast.
Okay, that's just mind-blowing. But why go to such lengths?
Yeah.
Couldn't they have achieved similar results by collecting seeds and, propagating new plants?
They could have, but this particular heath community was home to several rare and threatened species.
Right.
By relocating the entire ecosystem, they aimed to preserve the intricate web of life and the genetic diversity that had developed over time.
So it's about preserving the existing biodiversity,
Yes.
not just creating a replica with a limited gene pool.
Exactly. The manual emphasizes the importance of genetic diversity and restoration.
Right.
It argues that collecting seeds from a wide range of individuals within a population is crucial for ensuring long-term resilience.
Right.
This approach helps guard against the vulnerabilities of a monoculture, which can be more susceptible to disease and less adaptable to change.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But back to the Sippy Downs project. Did this, grand experiment actually work?
Right.
Did the relocated ecosystem manage to, survive and thrive in its new home?
Well, the project came with a hefty price tag,
Okay.
$5 million,
Wow.
and required years of meticulous monitoring and research.
Right.
However, the results so far have been very positive.
Okay.
The translocated heath appears to be flourishing, showing little difference in diversity and structure compared to the original site.
That's incredible. It's a testament to, our growing understanding of ecosystems and our ability to intervene effectively, even in the face of significant challenges.
It really highlights the potential of ecological restoration.
Yeah.
While we can't always turn back the clock, we can utilize our knowledge and ingenuity to protect and, in some cases, even relocate entire ecosystems.
Mm-hmm.
It's a powerful reminder of our responsibility to find ways to coexist with nature, especially as human impact on the environment continues to grow.
This entire deep dive has been a real eye-opener.
Yeah.
This manual, despite its somewhat technical title,
Right.
has completely shifted my perspective on ecological restoration.
Yeah.
It's about so much more than just planting trees. It's about understanding the intricate connections within an ecosystem and working with natural processes to support the recovery of these vital habitats.
It's a constant journey of learning, experimentation, and collaboration.
Right.
There's still much we don't know about the complexities of ecosystems. However, each successful restoration project, every seed that takes root, every ecosystem that recovers, brings us valuable knowledge and hope for the future.
So to our listeners,
Yes.
if you had the chance to restore any degraded ecosystem in the world, which one would you choose?
Ooh.
What is it about that particular ecosystem that, calls to you? Think about the ecological, social, and even cultural value it holds and what its restoration would mean for the planet and its people. It's a question worth pondering as we continue to